We've only done like 5 parts of this, and it feels like 50.
Einstein's relativity time theory is a bitch.
It is.
So what are you supposed to do here?
Basically, I'm supposed to... This is me trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do. So, go ahead and try to figure out while as I'm trying to figure out myself. Go ahead.
Okay, you need to find a way, obviously, to push that mechanism in a circle, like giving enough momentum and propulsion.
To get this elevator
it's
rolling.
not a good look for you.
Let's...
I guess you need to... Oh, there you go. You multi arm punch.
So it generates power for the conveyors.
Am I ahead of you guys?
We're at 44, 45.
Oh crud, I'm at 120, 122.
Oh, how did that happen?
Just go to one. Just go to 130 and wait for us there.
Okay, I'm at 130.
Alright, what is this? Metal Knack again?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Is Stealth Knack back in this game? I forgot.
Yes. Yes, he is.
So many crates.
No shit.
Yeah.
But guys, it's totally a good look for him.
Well, I guess,
Debatable.
as long as it's functional, I guess. So basically, what you need to do now is basically the release metal turds from Knack.
Yes. There you go. Basically, by doing this, I can connect the electricity between the 2 pads, so I can get the other pad working somehow.
Now, this is a cool type of puzzle. It's just the way it's presented that it's not really great.
Why not have it be like, well, that he can project, you know, sort of like a metallic wire, whereas opposed to electricity just going through a long line of metal?
It's also the way they're dropped. Look at that. It literally looks like he's dropping turds.
Not only that, but the way the electricity is going, I'm sorry, but electricity doesn't always work like that. Like, electricity needs something
And also,
to go
electricity gets discharged on the ground automatically. That's why cables have, wire cables have protection all around them, not just for protection against human contact, but also to avoid that the electricity gets discharged on the ground.
Not only that, but it's electric particles. This isn't like, you know, a flammable rope where, you know, if you light a match, it'll just follow it like a flame. You have to actually have them be connected by one surface.
You know, Lucas, you made a very good point. Knack, you did it, yeah. Speaking of doing it, Lucas, can you guys, I don't know, do something? Help? I mean, if you go, or is your entire purpose just to be a cheerleading squad?
I guess. That looks like a homing shot, Knack.
You know, Pedro, it's good you bring him up because
the sad part is that Knack's shitty friends actually really are shitty friends.
Yeah.
So,
you know, Pedro, it's a good thing you bring that up because this is actually brings up a good segue for a point I have. You know how the game is constantly saying, "Wow, Knack, that's a good look for you," or "Wow, this place is beautiful," or "Wow, don't these environments look amazing?" Or
it's very condescending.
Knack, you did it. Not only that, it's not just condescending, but it's condescending to the game itself in the sense that it's constantly feeling the need to pat itself on the back, like say, "Oh, look. If we
almost
keep
as if the
complimenting
game needs
you,
to
then that'll mean
reassure itself.
this is the problem. It feels like the game needs to say this stuff. Like it feels like its mentality is, hey, if we constantly say how great things are, or how great you are, or how great things look, then clearly the people who are playing will agree. Like, let me put it like this. Uncharted 4 has amazing graphics. So, do the characters constantly stop to spout about how cool everything is, or how great
well, there is that one moment, Jova, where...
Yeah, that's one moment, though. Not constantly like this.
Yeah.
That's mainly my point. It's like, well, with Uncharted 4, those moments they'll earn. With Knack 2, it's pretty much like candy given out here.
It just loses value just because of how often it's repeated.
Like Logic, I think, like Logic said in his video about Carl Bot. You know, Carl, people who aren't full of shit rarely feel the need to constantly assure us of it.
Yeah. It's like if I said, "Oh, guys, I'm totally gonna be the next Eddie Murphy," and then everything I did on the line I did to convince myself, instead of, you know, trying to actually just be funny like Eddie Murphy.
Actions speak louder than words.
Also, just as a side note, I'm kind of rendering the first game's run that we did at the same time we're recording this, and I still have to say, even if the graphical qualities of the first game was inferior to this, the character models look infinitely better. I'm sorry, I still don't know what the fuck went wrong with the facial models of this game.
It's kind of like a Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, Tio. Technically, there's better fidelity in the models, but that's the problem. They don't take into account how to make it look good. Like, it's technically more realistic, which is technically better looking, but it ends up looking uglier.
This is Japan Studio, the team that managed to replicate an entire JRPG identical to Final Fantasy game.
Not just that, the art director for this game is the art director from Gravity Rush 2.
What?
Yeah.
Those games look great.
I don't know, Jova.
I guess it's because it's not using the cell shade here. I don't know.
And also, in terms of innovation, these were the guys who made Ape Escape, the game that pretty much had the bragging rights that it kind of created dual analog control needs. Again, what happened with Japan Studio? It's like they lost their innovation, their artistic talent, and just their bouts of effort.
I don't think it's so much that, Jov. It's more so the fact that they're stuck with a franchise that is beyond saving. At least right now they are.
Those interviews just become all the more sad.
What I want before I give up on Japan Studio. Then again, tomorrow that Tomorrow thing game that they made before Knack.
Tomorrow Children, yeah.
Tomorrow. Then again, that game wasn't good either. So I guess maybe they are.
From what I can understand, Jova, an online game that got the servers shut down after a couple of months because no one bothered with it.
Ooh. So what was that game supposed to be about?
I don't know. But that's the thing. He had basically zero marketing from what
it was an incredibly unconventional game in true Japan Studio fashion. The problem is that this is probably one of those rare cases where the unconventionality of it was against it rather than in its favor. It was a bit too weird for its own good.
And also, again, it had basically zero marketing.
So it sounds like they were trying to be Hideo Kojima without remembering that even Hideo Kojima remembers to still have some things be traditional enough so that players aren't lost.
I'm guessing all these robots were being stockpiled for the war.
Nah! Guys,
Brilliant.
maybe all the... Zeroy.
She's verbed, I think.
Again, you know...
Hey, Joe, but did you know that you can use ramps as ramps?
You know, I'm gonna say this right now. At least Sonic Boom flavored stating the painfully obvious by having the characters actually have nice inflections here and there and actually putting a spin on it. I mean, Sonic Boom constantly spouted that stuff, but at least I could get some enjoyment out of listening to the characters do it with their voices and whatnot. I know it sounds weird, but Sonic Boom did make it somewhat fun to listen to.
Yeah, I get what you mean. It's because the voice acting in this game can be quite monotone and lifeless.
And it's a shame because they have so many, talented people behind this.
Now I know
How
what
did
some
you
people.
teleport it?
Now I know what some people are gonna say. Oh, well, Knack's technically a robot, so of course he's monotone and of course he's boring. Okay, I have the perfect. No, that's wrong to you. Basically, case in point, Big Hero 6 with Baymax. Baymax is essentially a monotone robot who has the mentality of a robot, but he is still allowed to have things that replicate and resemble emotions enough. Like, for example, there's a funny little joke where he's low on battery, and he pretty much acts drunk because of it. And even still, the way he actually interprets his commands and whatnot can be pretty funny and give him a sense of character. And Baymax himself even evolves.
The humor with Baymax doesn't come so much from Baymax himself. It comes from the interactions with him and Hero.
Not only that, but Baymax can actually work sort of as a character in his own right. Like, not entirely, but Baymax pretty much showed how you do the whole monotone robot who's supposed to be emotionless but can still come up like he has a character. It's sort of because that's how his creator made him to be like, because he's a medbot essentially at heart.
Baymax is basically an extension of Takashi's character.
Exactly, which is fitting for the themes of the game. But what it also means by that, Jova, as well, is the fact that compared to... Sorry?
You said you called Big Hero 6 a game.
No, I actually was referring to Knack 2 in this case. The comparison between Big Hero 6 the movie and Knack 2 the game. The character of Knack instead in this game, there is also the other problem of having an inconsistent personality, as we explored that through the first game.
Yeah, like the parts where he's a smart aleck.
Yeah, 1 second is about to basically just be an obedient robot with no personality whatsoever and just, a rigid mentality. Other times he cracks those terrible jokes. Just doesn't work.
It's like if we had... It's like if we had Clank from Ratchet and Clank, but we didn't get his development that explains why Clank eventually gets to be a bit more of a snarker later on.
There's also a thing. He does the first way are I destroy things, but this is just evil or something.
Yeah.
It's so inconsistent and so not. It results in just a character that doesn't work, no matter how you look at.
I mean, if you want to have Knack act both monotone, but also be a smart act.
No, it's easy. Just pick something and stick with it.
Not only that, but if you really wanted to do both, then give a good enough reason. Like, maybe there's these emotion chips that you can put into him, or maybe he develops over time, or maybe there's different modes to him. Give a good explanation. I mean, granted, you still have to do good execution, but, at least having a good explanation would at least help. In fact, it might help in giving him a semblance of a character. Also, I love these metal powers. Even though you're up here, you should be able to bring your metal powers with you. Basically, sure, this is a quote-unquote puzzle where you have to basically jump across in a slew set of ways.
There you go.
And then, there you go. That's right, you have to actually get it right up top there.
Oh, look at that, armor cracking. Remind me again what we're searching here. It's the city of
Yurrik.
Of Yurrik, the High Goblin
so now it's your
created
turn to
those
forget.
zombie robots. No, it was just a fresh reminder.
Well, well, even if he did, Jova, can you blame him?
No,
Not just
I
that.
don't.
Again, it's like what Pedro said also in the first game. The pacing of these two games is so awful because the chapters just go on and on and on, to the point that at some point you just forget the reason why you were here in the first place.
Also, isn't this, I do love these old ancient temples / abandoned laboratories that are supposed to be deactivated, but clearly have all their security turned on, even though, spoilers, we don't really come across any goblins, or, the goblins we're looking for in this one.
Yeah, the High Goblins. I don't think we encounter any particular High Goblins in this game. No, later on, right.
Although
What makes the pacing seem so bad is because of the fact that whenever we're in these particular sections with big fortresses or dungeons or castles or whatever, there's very little character banter. It's just stupid tutorial stuff.
Yeah,
well, the banter is it's just that it's the other characters telling how Knack is awesome and other minor inconsequential stuff.
Well, exactly that. Why can't we have something like actual proper character
interaction? Why can't we have
interaction?
Knack actually commentating on what's going on?
That's
more
a good
often.
question. Maybe they're afraid that Knack may actually have a part where he turns small, so they couldn't afford to have him speak, because, again, little Knack can never talk for some stupid reason.
He don't actually be able to talk. I don't even get to what the idea of, just because he's small he cannot talk comes from.
Like, would it really hurt to explain that? Like, okay, I get that sometimes explaining the magic can ruin it, but this is not one of those cases.
But the game doesn't tell properly.
Yeah, like, again, this is not one of those cases where explaining stuff would hurt it. In fact, if anything, it would probably help.
Very rarely explaining things hurts something. It's the problem is that a lot of times.
Knack, you can do this! You did it, Pedro! You
there we go.
square.
We're about to get Stealth Knack, I think.
A cutscene now. Yeah. Very good too.
Might be possible. Gonna have to do something about those laser beams, though.
How can this thing be stealthy?
You'll see, Shirai. Hold on.
Where's he off to?
We'll find out soon enough.
Wouldn't it be just funny if Knack just went and got a burrito?
You see, okay, Joe. Okay, Shirai. For the record, we're putting stealth in huge air quotes.
Yeah.
Basically, sure. Here we have quote-unquote puzzle
just a way to pass through lasers. That's literally it.
There you go. You're about to see Shirai. Hold on. There you go. Basically, that's invisible,
Glass.
invisible metal or invisible glass or whatever the hell it is. There you go.
Stealth Knack is back. Awesome.
No,
Because
it's
everyone
not.
was requesting you
These
back.
There
these
is
lines
nothing
are so
stealthy about
lame.
you.
I
They are.
hate this power-up. Okay, basically, this is a power-up where you have to become smaller, Knack. Now, thankfully, you can actually retrieve your pieces, but trust me, this was a much more pain in the first game. Not that it's not that much better here. Essentially, Knack becomes smaller, and then somehow, these crystals
Well, they
make
explain
him...
the basically, Lucas basically gives us the explanation how he manages to do that when he instructs Knack to do that in the first game. Basically, the core of Knack only selects the specific transparent relics to get around it, therefore making the entire core transparent as well in the process.
Here's what he
There you go,
does
Shiroi.
next.
What they mean by stealth is Knack becomes transparent and therefore the lasers can't see him.
I forget,
That's
can
what they mean by
enemies-
stealth.
I forget, can enemies see you still?
Yes.
Yeah, that's right, Shiro. Even though it's called Stealth Knack, enemies can still see you, and even though you won't get hurt by lasers, for some reason everything else will still hurt you.
When Dr. Lautrec has better stealth than you, you have problems.
I don't know. I would rage more on the Dr. Otrak's stealth than on this because of how unfair and limited in options he is in that game.
But Dr. Trek stages
I
were easy.
I guess, but at the very least, it's more like actual stealth.
I suppose.
And more actual challenge, and it remembers the bouts of stealth, like you're supposed to avoid getting spotted.
Well, remember, Noriyuki, I forgot his last name.
No, not
No. Iwadari is the attorney composer. Noriyuki,
Oh, okay.
I forgot his last name. The point is, the creator of Dr. Lautrec was a producer of Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops, so he has worked with Kojima before, so obviously he would know a bit more. What was I gonna say? So at the and it makes sense because the stealth sections in Dr. Lautrec are very similar to Metal Gear 1's stealth in a lot of
Except
sense.
in Metal Gear 1 you actually have a mean to defend yourself in the worst case possible.
True.
To Dr. Trek's credit, it makes sense why you don't defend yourself as much,
Well,
because...
yes.
The problem with Dr. Lautrec is that the stealth was just plain, like I've mentioned in the playthrough, it was just outdated because
Yeah.
the soldiers had fucking tunnel vision. Like I've said in the playthrough, we're not in 1987 anymore.
Oh, hold on.
I mean,
Ryder, did you seriously need to do that?
I guess he wanted to check whether or not they were detection.
Awesome.
Wow!
Clear crystal.
The game literally within the
like the
span
look,
of
but-
6
Reminder that
minutes.
in the first game, in order to get Stealth Knack, we needed to dismantle one of Victor's robots.
I get the Shiroi. I get the feeling the game is under the impression that
Oh, no.
if it says the words "awesome" over and over, eventually you'll find it awesome.
And look at this.
Is
If
it
it was
work-
made in
is
the
it
90s,
working?
it would probably
No.
say something like radical.
I mean, literally, in the span of no more than 6 minutes, it literally repeats the bout about Stealth Knack being awesome.
And look, and
Thank you.
It's the ending of Evangelion. Congratulations!
once again, all Ava does is go, "Wow, that's awesome! Wow, that's amazing!"
Hey, Ava, maybe you could pull into your mystical,
Oh.
magical...
Scientists feel.
That's the pyramid
That-
of light from
Mark,
you.
okay. I love that line that Ava just said. It's got that mad scientist feel. Mark
No.
wrote that line.
So,
Mark wrote that line, and he didn't think twice about it.
So let me get this straight. So the ancient Egyptians were evil because this is giving me more of an Egyptian pyramid vibe.
Okay, so chapter 4, Yurrik's laboratory. So we finally reached the laboratory. Let's see what we can find.
But yeah, I mean, again, like I said, they had to say Stealth Knack is awesome within minutes. of each
Again,
other.
it's like they need to encourage themselves more than the player.
And again, I'm sorry. I will not let it go of the inconsistency. Okay, some power-up inconsistencies I can maybe get behind because the game's actually good. But I'm sorry. You're telling me Stealth Knack can choose to be intelligible to lasers, but nothing else. That's incredibly specific. Like in that case, what if somebody had a trap room made in completely of spikes? Oh, well then I guess Stealth Knack ain't gonna work.
Durr.
I mean, to be fair, Joe, in that case, it's I guess it's the the same problem of what if Dr. Eggman made a robot that actually doesn't have weak point against agile quills, as Dorkly put.
Well, honestly,
Well, technically, Theo, he has made it like the
Yeah.
Oh
final
yeah,
boss.
a couple, yeah, and it's one of those cases where you need to get around to all those, etc., etc. But my point being, I guess it's one cases where you need to know where to draw the line that defines your suspension of disbelief on the matter.
like Pedro said, Eggman has done that before, so we can kind of let that slide, especially for the fact that we can assume that he has limited resources. In fact, he actually does mention his bout of resources. Whereas with the goblins or whoever here, okay, look, I get that deadly lasers are a good means of keeping someone out, don't get me wrong, but again, if these goblins are so intelligent and so highly advanced, not to mention the fact that we clearly...
We have light reflecting puzzles, just like in Prince of Persia.
Lovely. You know, if these goblins and enemies are so smart, wouldn't they think to have multiple means of protecting the place? Like, you know, maybe different
Oh, that's kind of
ways?
what happened in the previous cutscene. Despite stealth Knack, he pressed the button that triggered the machine gun. You know.
Okay, fair bits, but I mean...
Why are there so many invisible walls in this game?
Wow, that is really stupid.
Yeah, you
Sure.
should be able to at least have a bottomless pit for you to fail. Basically, the game telling you that you're not supposed to go there, but at least having you actually fail for doing it.
You know, game, when Crash Bandicoot teased us with, you know, what could potentially be an easy-to-reach exit...
Yeah, I want to
that
know.
was-
I love this
How
one.
does a laser move that?
What?
I don't know. I don't know.
Lasers are beam of light, not stream of currents.
And even still, if they hit it, shouldn't they rather melt the metal than, you know...
Yeah.
push it? Sure, you got
Mark-
anything on this?
But Jova, it's science.
Cartoony science.
You got anything to cover
Which
on-
isn't really science.
I mean, even cartoony science can be more realistic than this. Like, heck, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is somewhat more realistic with how it
Okay,
incorporates
Mark.
science into stuff.
Mark,
Jesus
you,
Christ, yeah.
Mark, you do realize that the science you've seen in Dexter's laboratory is not actually science, right?
I mean, even Dexter's Laboratory does a better job at explaining its science.
Oh, come
Also
on,
ask
no words
for
of
the whole,
encouragement this time? That's lame.
No, they've said awesome too many times.
We met their quota for the day.
Anyway, as for
Look and be
the
amazed at the wonder of Yurrik's laboratory.
You're saying, Joey?
As for bottomless pits being replaced by invisible walls, I don't like that even in a tutorial, so...
And now lasers make that thing go up.
That's
You
how
figured
lifts
that one
work,
out.
right?
So, okay, Yurrik. Decide, did you want lasers to kill people, or did you want lasers to power your windmill, your
I think
metallic
they're
windmill?
supposed to do both.
There we
All
go.
of those.
I can just imagine Yurrik going, I've been wondering about this ultra super
How
secret
does-
secret. I'm going to use it so that a laser will power up my metallic propeller, like one of those fancy steamboats that humans have.
I have a question. How did Yurrik even get around this laboratory back when he was alive? Like, this seems like an incredibly inconvenient laboratory to work on.
Maybe
Yeah.
he designed special rocket boots to
You
get
know,
around.
to compare to another Sony game made on the PS2, which this game tries to take very back from the first God of War game, the entire, basically second third of the game takes place in what is called the Pandora's Labyrinth. It's basically a gigantic dungeon. The more you progress through this labyrinth, which is a multi-layer dungeon with so many floors and traps and stuff, you get to know the lore about it. In the fact that it was built by a single man, well, with the help of other builders, but it was built progressively. And you see what this man has to do in order to create this dungeon. And at the same time, you see how he was supposed to get around through this different layer. And the more you progress, the more you see, oh, so he started from this point and then moved here and here and there. So it makes sense for this trap to work in this way, but at the same time, it works for him as well to not get accidentally trapped here. So there you go, Sony. A game made on the PS2 era manages to be a better explanation on dungeons and other, that kind of stuff. Rather than Knack II.
Hey, and again, let's look back
guess
at
what?
the PlayStation.
I can't jump back down from this area.
I think it's because there is a glass that you're just not seeing. I honestly think it should have been like layered out with a small, reticule on it.
Unless it's hard to tell.
No, very, very easy glass.
Either way, though, shouldn't Knack be able to just...
The argument will be Knack should be able to break it.
Yeah, I mean, he's done that stuff plenty of before. What, again?
Again, it's so much inconsistency for the sake of having your levels being railroaded.
Remember, guys, you asked for Knack to be able to switch sizes, so there, but you have to switch sizes a lot. Isn't that fixing the problem?
Oh, that's okay, but the level design does not accommodate for it. That's the problem in itself, Jova. You can change and polish the gameplay as much as you want, but if the level design does not also, improve as a result, you're still stuck with a terrible game.
Like I said, though, like the size changing also ties into the padding problem. Again, parts like that. Oh, Big Knack cannot smash the glass, so you have to become level Knack to go through that little tunnel again, and blah, 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 blah. And then you have to become tiny little stealth Knack to get for those lasers. I mean, okay, stuff like this. Okay, look. If stuff like this was relegated to a dungeon like most annoying game mechanics are, we wouldn't be complaining about this too much, but the fact is that this is kind of the norm of the game.
Yeah.
Aren't you excited, Shiroi?
It's just the problem is that these puzzles are just so slow and boring. It's the typical thing of like push this and pull that, and
it also doesn't fit with the story and the setting what the character is supposed to do. Again, another comparison: Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time has an entire room, the planetarium, I think it is, or the library, where you get this kind of puzzle with the light mirrors and everything. Here's the thing: Prince of Persia is a game that moves naturally slowly. The prince, despite his acrobatic skills, needs to get his time to move from place to place, to jump from balcony to shuffle, stuff like that. So it makes sense for you to take your time and move the beams of light in order to make everything work. Knack is supposed to be a gigantic, supermassive, strong tank. So basically this kind of mundane stuff to get done in like 1 second, and yet you still have so much fatigue in pushing blocks, making these puzzles go on and on for
if there's
no
one
reason.
thing that's crucial about a video game, it's to have the gameplay tie-in well with the character that you're playing as, to help give it not only just for the sake of immersion, but for the sake of gameplay actually itself.
Not only that, Jova, also for the sake of, having you not relate, but actually have more faith, kind of like into the character. But basically, if I see,
which is why a lot of people took issue with Tails being in a mech in Sonic Adventure 2, because it doesn't really make sense for Tails to be in a mech, considering he's perfectly capable of standing on his 2 feet and fighting.
Which is why in Sonic 06 he was resort to throwing bombs.
That was...
Well,
Sonic
to be
06.
fair, that was supposed to be a throwback to the Game Gear games, I think.
Today's Adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but the problem is that the execution was just terrible, and once again, Sonic Adventure proved that he could have had still a simple moveset. But again, I'm not one of the people who actually had that much problem with Tails in a mech. What I would think it would have fit better if Tails alternated between these, but
Yeah.
we know that it was tied to the rush developments of Sonic Adventure 2. The point of the argument here is that if I see Knack struggling to just get this simple task done, and instead, in order to get the quote-unquote encouragement that I need for the character, is to see all these cutscenes where the characters go like, "Way to go, Knack! You're so awesome while you're doing this thing." I'm sorry, it just doesn't work.
And if you want to have Knack struggle just for the sake that people would say, oh, he's overpowered, there's a time and place to do it. For example, Superman in Superman the Animated Series is notorious for having been nerfed from his comic book version. But the reason for that was because so that we could have a level of suspense, so then the normal supervillain for him could actually pose a threat. What was actually great was that by the end of that continuity in Justice League Unlimited, he reveals that he's been holding back because he really doesn't want to hurt anyone.
The World of Cardboard speech, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, of course, when...
you complete a gadget.
Goody! How useful or useless is it, Pedro?
Let's see. The Sunstone Bomb. And I even got the Doctor's Apprentice trophy.
This gadget,
With this gadget, he's...
Oh, basically, when you get Sunstone, you get minor shockwaves that can hit the enemy.
Huh, gee, that sounds like the move we could pull off when we build off the Sunstone meter in the first game.
Very good, Jova.
Which reminds me, I actually seen the playthrough and I noticed that Pedro in the first game never bothered to use the other Sunstone attack, the Tornado. But I guess it wasn't really that useful.
Basically,
It's not
so
useful.
the name of
The
the
only
game.
one that's useful is the Shockwave, I assure you.
So tell me,
Okay.
Pedro, was the Shockwave as useful as it was in the first game, or did they find a way to
Yeah,
screw?
it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fine. It's
So would you
basically the
say
same
it's-
thing.
So would you say it's
There
better
you go, that's
use
what
now that
happens.
it's a
Every time you smash
gadget?
a Sunstone, he creates that tiny minor shockwave. Yay, more Berserk mode.
Again, the sword thing was cool when we started off with it, but now do you think it can make... Oh my god, it didn't even take that long for it to feel... What is with this game?
Blue balling, that's what it is.
It's because this game, even when it does technically bring in new tricks, they're so rudimentary that they don't really serve to spice up things for too long.
For comparison's sake, if there's one thing I love in Kingdom Hearts, it's getting a new Keyblade, you know, which is literally your same Keyblade, but just a different design. Like, it's not even necessarily new moves, but yet, that can be more exciting, and the excitement lasts longer because I know that there's plenty more to come. Whereas with Knack, do we have any guarantee we're going to get that many abilities, you know, aside from the... Because let's remember, some of the abilities given to us are kind of stuff we already had from the first game.
Not only that, again, even the new moves that you get are not even that much interesting. Yes, we're serviceable, but, you know...
Why
Seriously?
wasn't it working there for a bit?
I have no idea.
It wasn't telegraphed properly. It was reflecting one of the borders instead of the proper propeller.
Goody, bad hit detection.
Well, why not at this point?
This game just keeps on giving us the wrong kind of
It's like
content.
Christmas morning.
This
I was gonna say, it keeps on giving, but we don't want any of it.
Yes.
Huh, that's the best way to describe
game
Knack. Too.
this thing just drags and drags and drags and drags and drags.
But look,
And
Pedro,
again,
actual platforming for
we don't
once.
hear Knack going on and expressing what he feels about all of this or what's happening around it. We only use
here we go.
resource. Oh,
Cinematic action.
let's see what he does for.
Kryptonite? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they ripped that off.
Let's jump.
Square. Grinding. X. Square. You've used only 2 buttons so far. Oh, finally, a different one.
For a moment there, this felt like the Detroit Become Human action sequence.
Whee! Oh no.
How convenient that it didn't slice any of his other relics.
Yay! Excitement.
Wow, that happened.
That happened.
The characters
Alright,
don't
let's
even
see
want to
what's
say
inside the
anything
chamber.
about it.
So I have a question. Why couldn't we just do this to begin with?
I never get tired of watching him do that.
Oh god.
Okay, honest question. Do you guys just get off
Alright,
watching
let's
him
see.
do that?
I bet Yurik's fingerprints are all over this place.
Doesn't
And,
matter.
Let's see what we can find.
Let's see.
Okay. Ah.
Yurrik cleaned out
Humor,
the place pretty
I
good
guess.
when he left for wherever.
Yeah, just bits and scraps. Ah, behold, a map of the High Goblin Empire.
How convenient.
Or should I say, half a map.
More like
I
a
wonder
portrait.
where the
of
other
it.
section is.
It seems the robots were designed for remote activation and control. It's actually pretty cool.
All right.
You said pretty
It is
cool,
cool,
Rotson.
but I'm not surprised. Lucas.
So we need a
remember
cool
when
counter
Mars
and an awesome
defeated the
counter.
Goblin armies?
Oh.
Well, that victory was short-lived.
All right, more lore.
Humiliated by defeat, Yurrik returned to his lab and conceived a new plan. He designed a control center from which to coordinate and command his forces, as well as created weapons so powerful that no human could ever stop them.
Which is
Basically-
why
The
he's
largest
still
These
lost.
weapons were called the Titans.
Oh, sorry. It's
In
okay.
the final battle, Marius
Let's see, there's the
human
Colossi,
armies
there's
against
the
goblins.
Giants,
So, how
And the
did
Titans were
Marius
mighty foes,
won?
and it seemed as if this would be
You'll
the
see.
end for the humans. But in fact, Marius was creating a diversion. While he
Again,
dueled
can we
against
get the
Titans,
game
How
about these
did
instead?
Marius do
Infiltrated
against the
the control
Titans?
center.
I want to know.
There you go. Basically, Marius was acting as a diversion where his strike team would enter the control center, which was had very little security, and destroy the control center so to stop basically cutting off the power source.
So Marius is officially the smartest character in this entire story, and he's dead.
Weapons froze, never to move again.
I mean,
Without the Titans,
good battle
the
planning
High
on
Goblins
Marius's
were quickly
plan.
defeated. This time,
Again, why
our
can't we just be
founder
playing
learned
against this story?
These reeks so
those
much of
few
Warhammer
goblins that
fantasy
survived were cast
storyline.
into the
Not only
wild.
that,
How
this
Sigmar defeated the
Marius
orcs.
took
not only
his
that,
place
this
in
art
history
style
as the
is
greatest of
better
leaders.
looking than
Different.
that. And then,
Again, yeah, it's like what Pedro said, and also I said before. Why can't we have a prequel game about this?
oh god, do you think maybe?
Why are they
Maybe
dangling a better story right in front of you?
How much?
Sadly, Shiroi, this is a thing. This is what I like to call the Final Fantasy X syndrome,
Yeah,
where
well,
we have
Who's here?
where we have a backstory that's much more interesting than the actual main story, and yet for some reason it's not the focus. Well, technically 8 did it first. Where
You mean with Laguna story?
yeah, the story of Laguna was far more interesting than the story of Squall,
But
and yet
it's
for
only
some reason it's not the
presented to
focus.
us in bits and pieces that are way too few for your
True.
own good.
The
Oh
story
wait,
of
wait, hold on,
Aaron.
guys. This is where the
Yeah,
story
yeah,
gets
sorry.
interesting.
Either way,
Basically, they know how to find, I guess, the another High Goblin city.
So basically, we came here to read some tablets and do some research. There you go.
Allow me to remind everybody, we entered the control center just to find out that we have to go to a different control center.
They've got ancient
But-
weapons too. This is not
But
good.
Pedro, we
Chapter
got
4
lore.
was literally nothing but filler.
But Pedro,
Oh,
the
there's the big
lore.
man.
We got so much lore, didn't we?
monks are getting ready for battle.
Alright, now we're gonna get one of the stupider scenes in the game. Basically, all of the monks for some reason are in the city about to do something. Let's find out what.
Friends, so glad for your help. Ava, I wish you had told me you were going with our new friends.
I wish
Oh,
had
you
told me
kind
you
of
were
didn't
sending
notice her
my brothers to battle.
leaving, even though it was
I
literally right
forgot, who
behind
voice
you.
is Xander?
I am quite aware
I don't
of the
know.
way of the monk.
I'll check.
Ava, you are
It sounds a
good
bit
hero,
like Christopher Corey's
but
mate,
you are
but
young,
no.
and perhaps
not
I've
him.
sheltered you.
She's
too
supposed
Yeah, yeah, this is another thing. We're never actually given some kind of insight into the relationship between Xander and Ava. We're just told about it with lines, throwaway lines like those
Not
that we
only
just
that,
said earlier.
but she's a
We have
good
to get to the
leader.
museum
What
to
exactly
find
is
out
her
more
position
information,
in this
but the city
society?
is crawling.
She's
If I want to
supposed
be
to take
told
over.
a story, I'll read a book.
She's
Also,
supposed to
I'll
be the
listen.
one that takes over the monastery after Xander retires or dies or
Keep
whatever.
the
Too.
goblins away from us.
Xander
Okay.
is voiced by
Thank you,
Brian
Xander.
T. Delaney.
Come on.
Brian T. Delaney, he's Bat from Mighty Number 9.
Oh god.
You
If
poor
you feel you
thing.
need to go with them, then go.
Also, okay, yeah, so she's the next in line, but what's her current
And Ava.
actual position? Like, he just says, you're a
Be
good
careful.
leader,
I'll
and
return as
okay,
soon as I
but
can.
how much weight to that? Like, essentially, sure, she's a good leader, but aren't some leaders supposed to be on the battlefront lines? Maybe.
So yeah, the basic gist of it is that goblins are attacking, so we need to stop them.
And of
That's the
course, how
basic-
do we show that goblins are attacking? By showing little to no actual attacks going on in the background.
I mean, at the very least, in the first game, when the goblins attacked the city, you were seeing the destruction and everything.
But the music was calm, the sky wasn't even lit up with fire.
It's a mess. See you for the next part, everyone.
See ya.
See ya.